up YouTube? Rogue Scrubs coming at you here with a wind-up deck profile. I know this is a long time. I said that this was coming up and I honestly just never delivered and never got to it, so it's finally here. I am proxying a couple cards. I really apologize about that. It's an Upstart, a Nightmare Unicorn, and a Griffin because I had to borrow them. I just don't know where I didn't have to borrow the Upstart. I just don't know where it went. But yeah, without further ado, I'm going to show you guys my wind-up FTK deck profile, which, like I said, the reason I postponed it for a little while was because I'm hoping this ban list would get zenMeaty back, but I'm not surprised it didn't come back. It's a very powerful card, and yeah. But without further ado, I'm going to get right into it. So for starters, we play 2 wind-up bat. This is going to be your card for the FTK. You only need 2, you never really need 3. I know some people do 3 with like Machine Dupe and some other interesting combos, but it's really unnecessary, so 2 is really just the perfect number. Yeah. Then we have our 2 power card. Of course, we have our 2 Magician, best card in the wind-up in the deck. Need to play 2 of it because it's semi-limited. Wish it came back to 3. I think it's a 3 in the OCG. Same thing with zenMeaty though. 3 wind-up rat. This card's absolutely phenomenal. This facilitates almost every single one of your combos. You're going to be using these like crazy. You have to play 3. Not a question. And then we have 3 wind-up shark, which this and Magician pretty much essentially equals game, or Summoner Monk in this equals game, which is obviously the next card I'm going to show you guys. We 3 Summoner Monk, because what's better than 2 Magicians? 5 Magicians, that's right. Yeah. Really quite self-explanatory in this deck. The whole idea of this deck is literally just to FTK your opponent as fast as possible. Like I said, I am playing the Cannon Soldier build. My idea is that instead of trying to hand loop or do things with Hunter, I'd really just rather try and kill my opponent turn 1. Because, yeah, you know, it's a cheese deck and it's a lot of fun. Then I do play the Predaplant engine because this gets you to a Saryuja and allows you to cycle and hopefully get into that FTK piece or facilitator that you're missing. So I play, obviously, the 3 Lone Fire with the 3 Scorpio. I play 2 Darlington Cobra as well, just to make sure if I draw 1, I don't lose the game. I know Saryuja can technically shuffle it back, but you're going to need, you know, the Predaplant to go off to make that Saryuja. So, yeah, the entire Predaplant engine is there. Next up, I do play the One Trick Clown. Unfortunately, this is the only light monster, so I do have the option of bricking with that sometimes. You can technically side deck Ghost Ogres and Veilers. I did side deck those during the tournament, so that way I did have another light monster if I felt like it was a big problem, but most of the time I didn't have that problem, so I was quite fortunate on that. I drew Garnet more than anything else. Ibli, this is the next card I play. So if you don't draw the FTK, you can always just end on a ridiculous board, like a Trigate board, like a Goki board. You can even sometimes do the U, depending on if you have Wind-Up Magician and everything. But you just can't get to the Cannon Soldier. You can just keep linking like crazy, and the Ibli allows you to keep doing that and set up that gigantic board. It's also a dark target, which will be relevant as of later. And then I play 1 Ferret because this grabs Cannon Soldier and 2 Wind-Up Bats right out of the deck, and allows you to FTK if you make Saryuja, which the Predaplant engine is a 1 card, essentially Saryuja. Next up, I play the 1 Garnet. Again, another brick, just like the Trick Clown. It sucks when you draw it, but that's what happens, you know. Don't really have a choice. I don't like really playing 2 because I'm already playing 2 of the Cobra. I'd rather have the Cobra, the second Cobra, and I'll explain that a little later. Why I play 2 of the Cobras instead of 2 Garnets or 2 Trick Clowns or something like that. And next up, last but not least, we have our FTK combo piece, which is just the Cannon Soldier. This card is absolutely phenomenal. If you don't know how the FTK works, it requires 2 Wind-Up Bats and Firewall on board, and this. Essentially, the Wind-Up Bat switches to defense position to grab the other Wind-Up Bat out of grave. You tribute it with Cannon Soldier, and then Firewall's effect will trigger to special summon the other Wind-Up Bat and continuously do this until their game. So yeah, it's an infinite amount of damage. Really, really cool. Next up, for the spells, I play 3 Allure of Darkness. Now, this is the reason why I play 2 of the Predaplant and not 2 of the other bricks. Because the Predaplant brick is a dark monster. It's the same thing with Ibli. So, if you do draw those cards, this allows you to increase your consistency. And it's not a big deal because you have Summoner Monk and so many other ways to utilize this card by either pitching it or actually using it for its draw effect. You really want to cycle in this deck. It's especially important considering I am playing the FTK build. So yeah, you want to play 3 Allure of Darkness. At least I think. Next up, I also play 3 Into the Void. Now, this is probably like, wait a second, why would you do this? Well, like I said, this is a 100% cheese deck. You're trying to go in all in 1 turn to try and blow off your opponent. And in most decks these days, I actually find that this card's not even that bad because it really is just Upstart Goblin. Your hand, and majority of the time, if you don't play hand traps, doesn't matter after turn 1. You don't need a hand after turn 1. Everything will be expended onto the board and on a lot of different decks. Obviously, Trickstar, Sky Strikers, and other decks wouldn't play this because they do keep, a hand advantage, but this deck wants no hand advantage at the end of the turn. So, yeah. It's a great card, and it just increases your consistency. Next up, we play 3 Call by the Graves. Because we are playing an FTK deck, we really don't want to be stopped by hand traps. There are some ways you can kind of get around a hand trap with a Wind Up Factory, like Magician Shark. You can declare your chain links right, and then you can, dodge some stuff. But it's still really optimal to have this, because you don't want to get drolled or ash or things like that. And even if you do, at least you have something like a DD Crow. It's never really that bad of a card, in my opinion. I like this card a lot. Next up, we have the Upstart Goblin, which I said I was proxying. I apologize. You need this card. Giving your opponent 1,000 life points doesn't affect the FTK in this deck, obviously, because it's infinite. So 9,000 damage and 8,000 damage are essentially the same. So play 1 Upstart Goblin. You look through all your cards, and then like that one time, you just can't find the one card you're looking for. Yeah, that was this scenario. Next up, I play 1 Wind Up Factory. I don't play multiple of this, and I'll explain why. So without Zen-Mate, playing multiple of this card doesn't really do you anything, because you're not going to... Normal summoning a Wind Up and activating effect and pass is a terrible play. You will lose the next turn you do that. And that's really one of the reasons I don't like this card at all without Zen-Mate. The whole reason this card was good with Zen-Mate is because you could do Zen-Mate, Chainlink 1, Factory, Chainlink 2, add Shark, Zen-Mate grabs Wind Up Magician, and then you reveal the Shark you added. Without that play, though, this card loses almost all the power it has. In fact, the only reason I actually play this card is because if you have Summoner Monk Shark, it'll allow you to FTK. And the reason is because after you do your Firewall, if you don't have a way to get to the Cannon Soldier, you can bounce back the Summoner Monk you used to grab the Magician initially to do the Magician Shark play, and then you can discard this card for the Summoner Monk to grab the Cannon Soldier out of the deck. And that's the reason why. So I wanted a searchable spell card, so you can search this off of, obviously, your new Wind Up link, Wind Up Zen-Mate, which I'll explain later. Next up, I play 1 Brilliant Fusion. I've seen a lot of decks that do play this in the Wind Up deck, play multiples. You will never need a second copy of Brilliant Fusion. It's literally just a brick card. You don't want to hard open it. You want to have the Predaplant engine. Without the Predaplant engine, this card isn't worth anything to you, really. And even if you do draw this card and you don't have a card to search off your Predaplant engine, that's perfectly fine, because the point is that the Predaplant engine gets you 2 monsters, which is really the key crucial part. And that would be even better if Zen-Mate was legal, because then you could obviously overlay the 2 and make Zen-Mate. But like I said, really sad that it didn't come back, but nonetheless, playing the FTK windups is still pretty fun. And the fact that you can even still do it is pretty awesome. Then we have our 2 power cards, Monster Reborn and Soul Charge. That's about it. These are just amazing. There's really no explanation there. Then I'll head into the extra deck. So we start off, we have 2 windups and Mayacon. You really only need 1. You can definitely cut down this to 1. I just have the second in case somebody stopped it or something. Or if they negated with a strike, I could technically make another, and it wouldn't be a big deal because you didn't activate it that turn. But you can definitely cut this for something else if you have more expensive cards. I don't have a Boar Load and some other things, so you can definitely cut one of these and play something else. Then we play the entire Nightmare shenanigans. So we play 1 Mermaid. I prefer 2 Cerberus, 1 Phoenix, and 1 Goblin. You play all of these just because they're really decent, and they allow you to make that U board if you don't open the FTK. They also help you get to the FTK, because every time you pitch in co-linked, you get to draw a card, so even if you don't get to that Cannon Soldier or that Summoner Monk, you can hopefully draw into it with the Nightmare pieces. Also, I play 1 Proxy Dragon. You can definitely swap this out for something else. I like having an arrow 2 ways. I think it's convenient at times. Obviously, you can play a second Goblin if you would like, but yeah. Sometimes you will have multiple rats and stuff, and so having 2 different names can be tricky at times, and Proxy Dragon's just really a really good generic too, and I really like it a lot, so that's the reason I played 1. Again, I apologize for the proxy. So this is a Unicorn. Like I said, I have one. It's with Charlie, but I do have a Unicorn now. Trigate, because obviously, like I said, you can make that U-board if you don't open the FTK. And then again, the last proxy I play is Griffin, Nightmare Griffin. It's just the Upstart Phoenix. It's a Nightmare Griffin. But yeah, great card as well. Firewall, absolutely mandatory. This is how you FTK with the deck. Fantastic card. Can't explain it anymore. And Saryuja, you definitely need this because this starts your combos and will hopefully draw you to that Magician Shark, because that's really where everything starts. The second you get Magician Shark, the deck will kind of play itself in a bunch of different ways. There's not really I could do a combo tutorial. It really wouldn't help you though, because of the fact that there's a billion different ways, and it all depends on the situational cards in your hand. So I think that's the really kind of things you're gonna have to figure out yourself depending on how you draw. So, one's way easier. And then lastly, I play the Utopia package because I don't play Borload, and if I ever end up hitting Awakening Dragon or something like that, I'm going to want to way over it in the Ultimate Falcon, and this was just the easiest way to do it because you can get 2 level 4s on the board relatively easily in this deck. Yeah, so that's it for the main deck. On to the side deck. I play 3 Red Reboot. This card's phenomenal. In an FTK deck, obviously, you want to play 3 of this because you don't want to get stopped by Altergeist and stuff, nonetheless. When I was at the tournament, I did get stopped by Altergeist, but it wasn't because I didn't have I had this, but he had Veiler, so he ended up stopping my play anyway. But yeah, nonetheless, this is a fantastic card. You definitely want to play it. The same thing with Twin Twister. This is, again, just back row hate. You really want to get rid of it. Next up, I played 1 Zen Malfunction, just as a tech card. You can technically play World Legacy. I think that's kind of better than this. But this card's just Monster Reborn for windups, but its effects are negated. So it's kind of like meh. It was just kind of there. Unfortunately, it's not even searchable because it's not technically a wind-up card. So it's not the greatest. Like I said, you can definitely play World Legacy. But nonetheless, I put it in the deck just because it still has wind-ups on it. Same thing with Rabbits and Hunter. I don't play these 2 cards. I think, yet again, they're slow. I'm not playing Triple Factory. And again, without Zen Media, I don't think this is the great stuff. Same thing with Hunter. I've seen combos where you can loop your opponent's entire hand. But looping your opponent's entire hand seems kind of not necessary. Like, I wouldn't want to loop my opponent's hand if I could FTK them or set up a U-board because there's really no reason. Like, why give them a turn if you already have the resources to prevent them from even playing at all? Like I said, it's a cheese deck. It's a lot of fun, though. I enjoyed it. Yeah, and sorry for the long waits and everything, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. So I'm going to say Rogue Scrubs out. Thanks.